Today on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Dale at TRB Customs moves onward with the faux wood transformation on the HydraStepp.
I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to put my artistic talent into the rest of the boat.
Boating editor George LaBonte joins Captain Eric Hasty aboard his custom-built Slayer Skiff.
I guess it is. It is my dream boat for doing this job here inshore like we're doing near shore. This boat has turned into everything that I hoped it would be.
The team at Wildfire Marine gets electrical on the Bertram 25 project.
We have all the fiberglass on the inside of the boat done. Now we're getting ready to do the wiring.
And the experts at Two Rivers Boatworks take on updating and customizing a Donzi 38 ZSF.
I have to do a dash panel for a Donzi that we have in, and I'm really excited about getting it done and a little nervous and apprehensive at the same time.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George LaBonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
Over at Two Rivers Boatworks, one of the lines of boats that we've taken on is the HydraStepp. And I kind of wanted to mimic the old beautiful mahogany boats and faux mahogany the whole boat. We had the boat painted in peanut butter brown, which is the base color to doing faux wood finishes. And I started on the smallest piece of the boat I could. I found a small patch on the boat. I took it off and I did the panel, and to my surprise it came out pretty damn good. So one of the things when I started studying classic boats, especially the classic runabouts, these beautiful mahogany boats had this beautiful strip planking going down the side. I just loved the way that these individual planks looked, and this is something that I really want to emulate in my boat. One of the things that if you ever look at a real wooden boat, to get the planks to attach to the stringers on the inside of the boat, they screw them. And what they do is they drill a little hole, they put the screw in, and then where the screw head goes in, they put a dowel. And then where the planks butt up next to each other, there's a dowel pattern that the guys used to use in the old days. And now I've emulated the old crisscroft. And to me it was just super important to get that small detail correct. And you know, we've had a number of people come through the shop and they've looked at it. They say, wow, it's a cool wooden boat. Are you redoing this old wooden boat? They never said that before the dowels were there. Now that I've added the dowels, it's like, wow, that's a cool wooden boat. One of the things when I was designing this boat, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it, was the console of the boat. And I mean, I've said it on the show a number of times, I always believe the console is the jewel of the boat. So I spent a lot of time thinking about how we were going to make the console look. The console's a complicated thing. You've got a bunch of wood coming in from different directions. So I spend a tremendous amount of time thinking about it. You know, we have bent parts on the boat. So how do we get the wood to look like it's bent? Where do you put the various pieces of wood? These were things that guys thought about in the old days when they were building wooden boats, because you couldn't really have open grain in a lot of places. You couldn't have open grain which would allow water to come in it. So you always had a top piece with the pieces underneath. So one of the things when I did the top of the console that was really important to me was to get the way that the end grain matched up with the grain going over the top, because everybody's always going to see the top of the console. After doing the console, I think I've definitely got it right. I think once we have a clear coat on this boat, all those characters are really going to come out. That this is a retro mod. It's a what the hell boat is that? I didn't know they built old boats like that. And if I can get that type of reaction out of people, I think that it's a job well done, you know, and at this point, I'm really proud of the work that I've done on this boat.
When we come back, George LaBonte joins Dreamboat owner Eric Hasty aboard his custom Slayer Skiff in this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment. This segment brought to you by Armstrong. Experience the Armstrong advantage.
Do you have the Armstrong advantage? In its most basic form, an Armstrong outboard bracket improves the efficiency of your outboard motor. This equates to a faster time to plane and higher top speeds. The list of advantages continue with improved maneuverability, added space, and a quieter ride. Adding a swim platform, accompanied by an Armstrong boarding ladder, will certainly add to your day out on the water. Isn't it time for you to gain the Armstrong advantage?
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us for this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment with Florida Sportsman boating editor George LaBonte as we feature anglers who have already launched their dream. Florida Sportsman began these features 30 years ago, and the dreams just keep getting better.
Now, I'm always on the hunt for boats to feature on One Man's Dreamboat, and today's guest we actually met totally by accident at the plantation on Crystal River. We happened to be there filming an episode of Best Boat. While shooting this segment, I found myself admiring a bunch of the guide boats that were lined up at the dock at Crystal River, and one particularly drew my attention. This was a boat that I was unfamiliar with. It ended up being Eric Hasty's 24-foot Slayer Skiff, which is a project that he undertook to facilitate his need as a new guide at the plantation. However, he wanted the boat to be built custom to suit his needs particularly, so he really just needed a hull to start with. On the other hand, he had zero boat building experience, so this was going to be an adventure.
Taking on this project was a huge ordeal. I was looking to farm it out. I was looking to have somebody build the boat for me, and I started shopping it around, looking at pricing, and for what everybody wanted to do at that time, I was kind of looking like I need to try and do this myself. I had a neighbor, Phil, who worked for Shamrock for years, Shamrock Boats, that I had no idea had this kind of experience. He says, man, we could build this boat, it'll be great. We stick built it piece by piece. We laminated air cell foam front and back with 4410 fiberglass. I mean, this is the thick commercial grade fiberglass. This is not the thin stuff. Looking at the design, I knew that I'd be able to put a huge casting deck on the front of this boat. The boat is 24 foot long and 8'9" wide. So my casting deck comes back 7 foot, but it's still almost 8'9" wide. I could fit 5 men, grown men, on the front casting deck, you know, casting in any different direction. So that was a big draw to me.
Now, Eric had a very definite idea how he wanted this boat to be laid out. This design is actually a very popular design among these West Coast fishing guides, and it features a unique helm and seating arrangement that pushes everything to the rear of the boat.
So the back side of the boat always comes up in question. Why did you put yourself in the back of the boat? And it's for creature comforts for everybody up front. I wanted a lot of fishing room, and I wanted everybody in the middle of the boat to be comfortable. So you bring everything to the back. It's a style that's very popular here in the Crystal River area. And it puts me at the highest point of the boat. I could see fish in the design. We've got the fuel tank is a 40-gallon tank, and it's up towards the front, along with my trolling motor batteries. They're up in the front as well to kind of help get that front down a little bit. We wanted some weight up there. We didn't want all the weight back here in the back of the boat. So just happy with how, you know, this turned out. I'm really enjoying, you know, the back of the boat. Like I said, you're able to see just as well as you would from a tower, and it works out well. It's a really neat design.
When it came time to hang an engine on the back of Eric's boat, he ran up against a wall. The combination of the COVID pandemic and just an industry-wide shortage of product led him to have a very difficult time finding an engine to put on the back of this boat.
Yeah, so when it came down to power, again, we're trying to find parts and pieces, and there was not a lot out there. I really wanted a Suzuki and an upper horsepower. So I finally had an opportunity. Braden with Nature Coast was able to source a 200 that pushes this boat fine. We've got a top speed of 48 miles an hour, and we cruise at 4,200 RPM at 35 miles an hour. So this 200 Suzuki does a great job pushing this beast. It's not a light boat.
When it came time to lay out features on this boat, Eric wanted the boat to be very simple, very clean, and also very fishable. But at the same time, he needed his people to be really comfortable and to have fun on the boat.
The whole concept behind this boat was to build this boat as a charter boat. So it doesn't have any fancy bells and whistles. It's plain anodized aluminum. We didn't powder coat anything like that. We set up the electronics as simple as possible. I had some help from my buddy Frost. He came and wired a lot of the interior for me. The storage hatches, there's storage for days on this boat. I don't like a lot of clutter on a boat, so if I can put something away, I've got spaces for just about anything that you could put on the boat. And we designed it that way on purpose. And even after all the hatches, we decided to put 2 hatches in the floor as well. You know, it's just another design thing. A lot of thought, like I said, a lot of thought kind of went into building this boat. And at the end of the day, you know, I guess it is my dream boat for doing this job here inshore like we're doing near shore. This boat has turned into everything that I hoped it would be.
We had a great day fishing with Eric over in Crystal River, and at the end of the day, I was really impressed with what he'd accomplished building this boat, especially since it was his first project. I know he got exactly what he was looking for in a guide boat.
After an initial investment of $8,500 and spending $37,000 on repairs and custom modifications, the cost of Eric's Dreamboat comes to a total of $45,500. When we return, the team at Wildfire Marine begins the wiring process on the Bertram 25 project. This segment brought to you by Suzuki Marine, the ultimate outboard motor.
Go to SuzukiMarine.com to find a dealer near you.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as the team at Wildfire Marine installs marine-grade wiring and components on the Bertram 25 project.
Hi, my name's Debbie. I'm over here at Wildfire Marine. Me and my husband are working on David Taylor's boat. It's a 25 Bertram. So far what we've done, we've taken a inboard motor, we filled in the transom, put the bracket on it. We have all the fiberglass on the inside of the boat done. Now we're getting ready to do the wiring. All right, first thing we did is that we went and pulled our battery cables. Due to the fact that it's a 250, they suck up a lot more power, so you gotta put the right battery cable to go with the motor. So I use 1 gauge wire. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my main wiring harness. So what I do is I take a tape measure. I'll measure how long of a distance I need from my bilge pump all the way up to my switch. And then I go ahead and I'll grab my 2 browns, because I have 2 bilge pumps. Then I'll have my ground wires, and then I'll have orange for my floats. So that's the 6 wires that I will be pulling up into my console. Normally when I run my harness through my rigging tube, I do not use tape and I do not use tie wraps. I just take it in and I pull it all the way up to the console in my rigging tube loose. Now I'm up inside the console. I see I have 2 bilge pumps. I have nav lights, I have gunnel lights. So this is telling me what size of a fuse panel I actually need. So we took a 12, and then I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put it and where everything else is gonna go. So the further to the side that I can get is where I decided to put it, so it wouldn't interfere just in case there's something extra I have to put on the base that I'm using. I'm using toggle switches. I have the power wires coming off the back of the toggle switches, which will go to my fuse panel. And then I'll run it up, hook it onto the back of my toggle switch, and then bring it right down to my fuse panel. What I'm going to do now that I've got my switches in, I like to take all my wires that are going to my destination, I like to tie them off and start working my way to clean up my mess. Makes it look neat. I leave my power wires out, because the power wires, they have to go in all different directions. Okay, so what I normally do is I have my wires, I label the bottom of them. So I just take it, if it's a nav, I'll put the word nav on the bottom. This is my fuse panel, and I write it on here. So that this way, I know when I do my label here, I'll know that this is a bilge, this will be a bilge, that will be a nav. And then it will also tell me what fuses I have to put in it. All right, once I'm done cleaning everything up, now I'm gonna start my power wires. My first one is always my nav light. I'll run it, then I'll run it where I'm gonna go. Then I'll put my ring terminal on it. So then I'll go ahead and I'll put that on there, I'll tighten it up. Then I'll go, my next one would be my 2 bilge pumps. I'm also doing it like this because the boat has to go to Coastal Marine, and I'm allowing him room for all his harnesses to come in for twin motors. Well, I got a little bit more wiring to do on my fuse panel. And then I gotta do my battery cables, and then as soon as I'm done that, Mike's got a little bit more things to do on the boat, and hopefully we'll wrap it up and send it over to Coastal for motors.
When we return, the experts at Two Rivers Boatworks dive into resurrecting and customizing a Donzi 38 ZSF. This segment brought to you by Two Rivers Boatworks. Exceptional design, quality, and craftsmanship.
At Two Rivers Boatworks, we turn dreams into reality, one boat at a time. Specializing in the installation of the industry's leading audio, electronics, and LED lighting systems, to the custom design and fabrication of dash panels, foam decking, upholstery, and more. Our experienced technicians are certified to service Mercury, Yamaha, and Suzuki outboards. New boat envy? Our line of custom performance skiffs can be tailored to meet your unique boating needs. Visit our facility in Stuart, Florida, and turn your boating dreams into reality.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as experts at Two Rivers Boatworks work to restore and customize a Donzi 38 ZSF.
So we just got a 38 Donzi into the shop. Jeff Schellenberger, the owner of the boat, gave us a call. He saw some of the stuff that we were working on, really liked what we had going on. So he decided he was going to get a boat. He already had an idea in his head of some of the stuff he wanted to get done. The custom dash panel, he wanted to have the motors painted. He wants to add sea deck to the boat, so he was just counting on us to take delivery of the boat and kind of make everything happen from there. So one of the main things Jeff wanted done to the boat was to have a custom dash panel made. He requested that we put 2 of the biggest screens that we could possibly fit in there. So we're gonna put 2 16-inch Garmins in there. Dale's in the TRB Customs bay. He's gonna be fabricating the acrylic panel that's gonna house the 2 Garmin screens.
Yeah, at Two Rivers Boatworks in the TRB Custom Bay, I have to do a dash panel for a Donzi that we have in with just a simple Donzi Z logo in the top of it. All the time that I've taken learning to use my machinery and my tools, well, kind of no more messing around. And I'm really excited about getting it done and a little nervous and apprehensive at the same time. Once I had worked out the exact geometry of this panel and I made sure that all my measurements were precise, it's now time to do it in the actual acrylic. And I'm a little bit nervous about having to do this acrylic panel, but you know, we put it in the machine and I use some rare earth magnets. I use them as reference points inside the laser. It definitely came in handy when I put the panel into the machine and I did the Donzi logo. I did the Donzi logo and then I did the backfill. But after I'd done the backfill, I realized that certain parts of the logo weren't as clear or as deep as I really wanted them to be. So this allowed me to take the panel, put it back into the machine, run the machine again to etch it slightly deeper and get it perfect. This particular panel that I was doing is symmetrical in shape. I'm able to flip it over, and I then run the laser to mark out the holes where I'm going to put the mounting bolts. After I'd run the laser, I realized that I wasn't quite as deep as I wanted to be, so I was able to run the laser a second time at a different angle, and that allowed me to get a little deeper before I just cleaned that all out with a router. Once I'm finished cutting the panel on the laser, I take it over to the machine shop. I run the edges of the panel through the router. I just sort of knock the edge off, put a slight radius on it before I flip the panel over and start doing the really hard work. You know, because these garments are flush mounted, I have to get in there with a router, and you don't get a second chance on this. You literally have one chance to get it right. You cut in pretty deep. We double checked, and then we ran the router through the bottom side of it, which was really easy. But having to do the top side of it, you've got a slight radius going all the way. We really had to take our time to lay this panel up so that when I ran the router, it would cut straight. So after I'd done the panel and we brought it out and kind of felt that it needed a little more backfill, it needed a little more life to it. It's a paint that like sort of comes in a crayon form, and that makes the logo pop out. We buffed it up a little bit. Perfect. I can't wait to see it on the boat. We needed to find a solution to being able to remove the dash panel without breaking everything. So we mount the bolt in that routed out piece, and then we fill it with epoxy. You don't see it from the front of the panel, and secondly, it allows us to remove the panel without damaging anything or damaging the panel. So essentially killing two birds with one stone. I'm a little nervous to see if all my calculations were correct, and I'm really excited to see it mounted on the boat.
Next week on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. The fiberglass gurus at Wildfire Marine build custom hatch lids for the Bertram 25 project. The experts at TRB install a new jack plate and fresh power on the custom skimmer skiff. George LaBonte joins Bobby Woodard aboard his custom 25-foot Parker. And a new passion project is introduced at TRB Customs, an old Stamus bound for a serious overhaul.